Hello again. My name is Dr. Brittany Helford. I am your internal medicine physician and wealth coach. And today we are going to have a very fruitful discussion on how to earn more money as a woman. I want to present opportunities for us to gather the information that's going to help to propel us forward, not only as a gender, but as a community, as a nation, because we know that, 50% of the world is a woman, right? And so we need to continue to uplift women as well, especially in the financial space, in order to uplift who we are as just a human race. I think too often the reason why we are limited in the financial space is because we've made money a taboo topic. So I want to make money a topic that we talk about. I am your wealth coach, and my story goes, I paid down $138,000 in student loan debt in 2 years and 9 months without sacrificing joy. And now I help women in healthcare to do the same. We all know that there is a gender gap, that there is a difference between the income and salaries that are granted to men versus those that are granted to women. And when you think about the gender wealth gap, all categories of women make about 82 cents to the dollar that a man makes. Then that does not equate to our productivity or our efficiency or what we actually afford and benefit, how we benefit the companies. This is solely because of gender, that women earn less. Now, if you break that down by demographic, if you break that down by women who are Black, Latino, Native American, white, then you see that there are further discrepancies in which a Black woman, and I'm just going to speak on the statistics of a Black woman makes about 63 cents to every white man. So there is a huge discrepancy in how we earn money, and it is imperative that we start to take ownership over some of the things that we can do in order to promote ourselves to earn a higher income. When I work with my clients, I think that there's this additional pressure to say that they can't achieve a certain amount because their income is capped. And I want us to start to break down that mindset, to break down that emotional barrier to negotiating for our salaries, to arguing, or maybe not arguing, but articulating our value to the interest who might have some control over our salaries. And I want us to break down the fear of doing so. Now, a few other statistics about women. And thinking about women just historically, statistically, women are 5 times more likely to live paycheck to paycheck compared to a man. And they're 2 times more likely to associate their finances with a negative emotion. Now, I don't know about you, but whenever I feel bad about something, I don't want to engage. But I would say that that's the exact opposite thing that we need to do as women in order to earn more money, in order to have more money. Because not all money that we have is because of earned income. There's passive growth. And so I want us to be able to think towards passive growth. But if you have that negative emotion, the money's not going to come towards you, right? You're like repelling money because of that negative emotion. And not only that, but how does that affect other areas of our lives? How does that affect our relationships with other individuals? How does that affect our physical health, our spiritual health, our overall wellness? So it is really important that we tap into that as well. Women hold the most student loan debt. This is one of the key things that women come to me for. Student loan and consumer debt is because they feel that negative emotion associated with their debt. Okay, so I'll jump back into a few more statistics, but I want to give us some tangible things that we can start doing today to earn more money. Now, the first step in order to earn more money is to know thyself. To know thyself. And all of the tips that I share are both psychological and logical. A lot of money has nothing to do with money at all. And so when I challenge you to do something that has nothing to do with money at all, it's because there is a direct correlation, and statistically this has been shown and documented in the literature, that we are emotional beings, and there's actually a science of behavioral finance. Even financial advisors who have spent years in the industry are not immune to the emotions of money. I recently attended a conference. I learned so much about investing, how we're going to reconstruct our portfolio, other opportunities for us. And there was a financial advisor who presented old white man, had been in the financial space for years, wrote multiple books, but he said, I have a financial advisor because I'm an aggressive chicken. That he knows that he has emotions that will restrict him from investing in more riskier investments, but he also knows that with that risk comes bigger rewards, and you have to have a balance of the two. So it's imperative that when you're trying to earn more money, that you know thyself. And knowing thyself means a couple of things. One, you got to know your numbers, right? You need to know your numbers. How much are you making? How much have you made over the course of years? What are the general salary numbers for the person who's in your position, who's doing your job, has a job title in that area? Because if you don't know first who you are and where you stand, how are you supposed to position yourself for more? Because you may be requesting something that does not even serve you. And what I often notice is that when women go up for negotiation, they kind of go up for like what feels right. Like, okay, I'm negotiating my salary. I currently make $40,000, for example. I currently make $40,000. So there, $50,000 feels much better. But you don't know what your debt is. You don't know, what your salary has been over this trajectory of periods. You don't know what your tax liability is. You haven't really sat down with yourself to better understand what are your financial goals. And so you need to know thyself. You need to put yourself in a position of gathering all of the information before you go and you negotiate with anyone. Because I would say that statistically, there's a really good book called Women Don't Ask. We don't ask for enough. And so what I teach my clients is when we're negotiating, we work through this whole framework. But one of the things that I tell them, and I listed this in the beginning, that there is a significant difference between men and women as far as the gender pay gap. And I'll go through some of those statistics, more of those statistics. But when you're positioning yourself, you need to inquire about what a woman earns in that position, in that role, with that level of expertise. Don't compare yourself to a novice if you've been in the field for 15 years, right? And then you also need to know what a man earns and to articulate your value in comparison to a man and ask and request for that. You also need to have a really good understanding of what brings you joy. Have a really good understanding of what brings you joy, because there are other things to having more money besides earning more from negotiating your salary. There are benefits that you can ask for that will offset some of your expenses. And in the end, your income minus your expenses equals your opportunity. And so if you can get your employer or someone else to pay for some of your expenses, then you can increase your opportunity, which will allow you to invest more money, to pay down debt, to put money in a 529 account, to, protect your assets in a different way so that you can have more money. Less than 70% of women are saving for retirement. And I see this oftentimes with my clients as well. Because we have debt, we've been taught to kind of postpone investing in retirement until we've paid off our debt. But if that debt takes you 5, 7+ years to pay off, then think about the compounding interest that you've also lost by delaying that retirement contributions. And again, going back to my first point of knowing thyself, that your employer may have certain benefits that you may also be losing out on. And the one thing that you cannot get back, you can always earn more money, right? You cannot get back time. And so that is a critical piece of your financial plan, is to think about time from a compounding perspective when you're evaluating not only your debt, but also what you hope to have when you retire. Ladies, I would encourage you to think about the past, the present, and the future anytime you're evaluating your financial profile. And that was one of the key takeaways from this conference as well that I really, really loved. The same old white man advisor telling us all of these things about performance and how the portfolios, should you add small cap or large cap value or large cap or small cap growth to index funds, etc. And then he's like, but this is all hypothetical. Which is like, you have 30+ years of experience in the industry, and you also understand that we are all in this position of deference to the economy, to whatever the future holds, and we can't predict the future. And so it would be unwise of you to only ground yourself in the present moment without thinking about the future. And too often, I think when we have this negative perception of our emotions, when we don't see a way out, then it's hard to really forecast what we would be like and envision ourselves in the future. But ladies, I will tell you, by not thinking about the past, letting go of the past, but considering the past, because the past has so many lessons to teach us. Understanding that you need grace in the present, but then also projecting yourself and envisioning your future so that you can actually become that vision of yourself. And so this is part of the reason that I think we often fail, and we have some of these statistics, is because yes, there are societal things that have happened to us and systemic things that are put in place that limits our financial growth, but there are also things that we can take control of and we can be empowered and do today in order to earn more. After knowing thyself, then the next step would be leveraging what you have and documenting it. So I mentioned that women are less likely to invest for retirement. And when we do invest, it's not really in a very risky stocks. We are more likely to invest in like insurance plans and things of that nature that provide some type of benefit, but not significant gains. And there are so many things that we do as a gender that helps to elevate who we are, our efficiency and our productivity, and the outcomes that we actually attain. So if you have not read this literature before, it is documented that women are actually better investors than men. And it really taps into the inherent characteristics of who we are, that there are significant differences in sex and gender, just in how our brains function. And so the next step in earning more is leverage what you do well in documenting it. And there are a couple of reasons in which we need to do that. So as a hospitalist, there has been literature that also showed that women hospitalists provide better care and have better clinical outcomes. And so leveraging what I do well, okay, I'm caring, I'm nurturing, I listen to other people, I sit at the bedside of my patients, I listen to my clients and really tap into what their desires are and getting to know them. Leveraging that, right? That means that you have good sociability skills, or you are able to relate to others. You have that relatability, you have the personability, right? And so you can leverage that in ways that can generate more income and speak to the interest of the person that you're negotiating with. I think we fail to realize when we're in a position of negotiation that that other party also has something that they desire and want, right? They also have their own needs because they're often led by human beings. Yes, AI is a big thing in the world, but we're not negotiating with robots at this point. And so how do we tap into those interests and how do we articulate our value? The documentation is critical because I think oftentimes we forget, at least for me, when I'm thinking about building up my CV, I sit down and I do it every year when I have to, and I have to think about, oh, a year ago, what did I do? If I had documented it as I went and documented the outcomes, then that would give me more negotiating power. That would give me more leverage, right? And so it's imperative that we start to document these things right now, today, whenever you're trying to earn more income so that you can articulate your value and speak to that interest of the party. Our brains are limited. There's so much distraction with social media and what have you. And so right at the moment when you feel it, then that's imperative for you to document it right then and keep a track record of your successes. Not only to speak to the interest of someone else, but to build confidence. When it comes to negotiation, we often undervalue ourselves as women. And I just want you to stand in your power, because whatever you're doing is bomb, right? We do a good job. We hold ourselves to this high standard, but we also have to value that what I've done is enough and what I've done is good, and honor that. And I think we fail to do that because we're so busy taking care of others and doing all of these things and trying to submit to the commands and the demands of our 9 to 5 that we forget to add that value, to be introspective, perspective and to honor who we are and what we're doing well. And so I would just encourage you today to use that documentation, yes, to articulate to the values of others when you're negotiating, but also to encourage yourself. Dang, this job promotion is up. I've done all of this bomb stuff in the past, then why not? Like, I deserve this. And to put yourself in the position of deserving. Because when I work with my clients on negotiation, oftentimes it's this expression of deference of, why would they do something like this for me? We kind of cowered into who we are and how we feel about ourselves. And it's time that we give ourselves a warm embrace. Like, think about how you would encourage your girlfriend to apply for that position and take an alternative perspective. And I think that by doing that, you're going to really be able to leverage what you have. Another reason to document it is when you're transitioning. Studies have shown that when you transition jobs, if you transition jobs like every 2 to 3 years, then you actually earn more money than someone who's staying in that same job. And so it's really important that you have that documentation of your successes at that company or wherever you are, because they may not honor it, they may not value it, but somebody will. And so you've built up that confidence. You have your list of evidence of all the things that you do well that you can carry forward and best articulate your value to the next company when you're transitioning. All right, going back to a few statistics, women are less likely to invest. When you are investing, and women have a tendency to invest less, and what is shown is that by that reduction in investments that women make, equates to $1 million of lost money, whatever you want to put in there, returns on your investment over the course of 30 years. $1 million. We all want to be millionaires, only to realize that some of us have already been millionaires, that like we've earned $1 million multiple times over sometimes, but that we are not saving it, that we are not employing our money in a way that serves us and that helps us to reduce how much we have to earn because our money is also working for us. So if this is not a push to invest more today, let me tell you to invest more today. Now, let me also paint a caveat, because many of us are so focused on passive income, on passive growth, that we forget about passive losses, right? So if investing is not at a stage in which you have reached in your financial journey, it is okay to be wherever you are and accept that. When I graduated from medical school, I had $131,000 in debt. I was not at all thinking about investing, okay? When I became a resident, enhanced my financial literacy, I did put some money away in the Roth IRA and I did invest in a 401k. But to be honest, those were money mistakes that I've now reconciled because I've improved my money mastery. But if I had credit card debt or even high interest student loan debt, it would have been more logically sound for me to invest in reducing my debt burden instead of putting money into somebody else's pockets to generate passive income in which we're not guaranteed. When you're reducing your debt, then that is a guaranteed return on investment. Okay, so, the numbers have to figure out as far as what the logically makes sense, and then you have to think about psychologically what makes sense for you. But if you're at a point where you have cash flow, you don't have high interest debt, but you're just fearful of investing, then that fear is costing you millions of dollars. So whatever you need to do in order to get rid of that fear, then I would encourage you to do so. The next thing that I want you to do when you're trying to earn more money, there are two things. I want you to gain perspective. And this is imperative because, ladies, I've told you that oftentimes we undervalue our accomplishments. We undervalue what we're able to afford to someone else. Gain some perspective. Ask someone and say, hey, what do you think I actually do well? What are my strengths? And I think that is helpful because we all have blind spots. And when we don't allow for someone else to enter into our world, then we are limiting our ability to see ourselves for who we truly are, because we have only one vantage point. And we experience the world completely differently. And this goes to my second point of find an accountability partner or find someone who encourages you, who can propel you forward. And that's often what I do with my clients, is that I do both. I provide an alternative perspective. I challenge their norm, right? Did you think about this? Other perspective. They can say, Brittany, I thought about it. And thank you for offering your perspective, but that actually doesn't serve me right now. And that's completely justifiable, right? But I do think that it is important that we gain perspective, that we see it from another person's vantage point when we're considering our strengths, when we're considering our weaknesses, when we're considering our opportunities, and when we're considering our threats. So one of the things that I do when I work with clients is help them to perform a SWOT analysis on various levels of their financial plan. And I think this is really important because it shifts our thinking. Something that I've been reading, it's a Time magazine about positive thinking, and that oftentimes we underestimate the negative risk because we inherently are created to be positive because it serves us. Now, sometimes if you have that negative emotion, then you're likely going to have some type of jaded perspective or looking through a foggy glass because of past emotions, past mistakes that you may be still holding yourself to in the present. So I would encourage you to gain perspective, to get some friend or somebody to give you their perspective on the whole thing, and then to find an accountability partner. When I was at that conference, there was a 5K that we ran, and I love to run. I've been running for many, many years, not competitively, but just as a release. Is kind of my go-to exercise, outdoors exercise, mainly because I'm not very athletic. Hand or eye coordination completely off. You don't want to see me on the basketball courts, on the tennis courts, like nothing. Don't pick me as your teammate because it's not going to work. But when I was running in this conference at this race, I had a woman who was effectively my accountability partner. We started out the race together, and I asked her if she was a talk runner. And she said that she was, which is great because I like to talk when I'm with people, when I run too. And in my mind, there were times of, man, my muscles are burning. Dang, I haven't run a 5K in a while. Ooh, I'm getting a little out of breath. And there are so many negative things that we say to ourselves that might stop us in our tracks, that might make us slow down, that may make us forget about what the goals and objectives are. But by having that accountability coach or accountability partner, whether it's a friend, whether it's a loved one like a spouse or a partner, whether it's a financial coach, they are going to hold you accountable to each of the steps. Well, remember, you actually told me that you wanted to run this 5K. Like, you came to this financial conference, like, yes, that's a part of it, but you also wanted to focus on your financial wellness. What is up? What are you telling yourself that is blocking your ability to achieve that goal? What are you telling yourself that is demotivating, right? And oftentimes there's so much negative talk that we have internally, or that we actually vocalize and verbalize to other people, that is detracting us from achieving our said goal, our said vision. But more importantly, not just that goal, but it has negative manifestations on our motivation to push forward and to do more. And so by having this woman who she's running, she's talking, she's running, she's running, she's talking, all of those negative emotions, like, okay, I can see Christy, she's right here. You know, she's a woman. She's a doctor. She also runs, but hasn't run in a while. She's still going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. And so I find personally that when I have an accountability partner, I do more than I'm expected to, that my own mindset has set up as a goal. So I would encourage you, if you want to earn more money, then get an accountability partner, because they may not help you in that negotiating room necessarily to like say the exact words or to know like what you actually need to articulate, but they are with you to help you to build confidence, to help you to accomplish that small goal and accomplish these other small goals that are going to feed into that negotiation. They are going to be the person that's with you, that when you think that, you know, you've submitted 20 new applications to that job and you've been denied, they're going to allow you to submit that 21st. And I would just say that, ladies, oftentimes if you have someone who's there side by side with you, that you've been vulnerable with, to remind you of who you are and what you can become, then you're not going to give up. All right, so I just want to say thank you for watching. If you have any questions about investing, about budgeting, about money mindset, about debt payoffs, then feel free to drop them in the comments. Thank you for being here. Please feel free to share this to 5 women. I just want to continue to empower women to earn more money, to step into your power, to negotiate your strengths, because you are definitely qualified, you are deserving, and you just have to believe it. Thank you, and I will see you all on the next one. Bye-bye.